of the semester, we will be taking a look at the top 10 moments in RMU women's sports history. Tyler and Jack, what do we have first?
Well, Sam, thanks for that excellent introduction. And Jack, we actually do have a lot of stuff to talk about first. What is the first thing we're talking about, though?
Well, the first thing we're going to be talking about, Tyler, is a little bit of RMU women's sports history, which Sam just broke down for us. Thank you again for coming on the show, Sam. Look at that. Diversity.
Yeah.
We made it. But to get into it, we've got an ESPN moment, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And actually, Kylie Hanslick, in one of her first outings as the Colonial, she transferred over from Wisconsin. She actually had a very, very highlight reel goal, and in fact made it to the top highlight reel in the nation in Sports Center Top 10. Let's take a look at that one. Kylie Hanslick gets the puck and goes down the ice here in the Battle of the Berg, and she's going to do a spinorama and get it in there and backs it in, and what a goal that was. Unbelievable. This is against Colgate, by the way. Kylie Hanslick, in just her second game, I believe, as a Colonial, or one of her earlier appearances after transferring over from Wisconsin, gets an absolute highlight reel goal, and she just high-fives everyone down the boards. And Jack, this was a sight to behold.
No, it was. Not every day that you have RMU in the spotlight, but you take another look at this goal. Great pivot around the defender, was able to protect that puck on the backhand with the wide stance, and right able to slip it through the 5-hole. A great moment for number 10.
Yeah, and we're going to stay on the women's hockey train for the next one, Jack, aren't we?
That is precisely what we're going to do. Now, the Colonials have never sent a player to the National Hockey League, but the women's team has sent an official. That's right. Kirsten Welsh, the ex-Colonial, is now part of a new wave of a feminine presence in the NHL, which has been criticized for its lack of exactly that. Kirsten Welsh played for the Colonials from 2015-16 to 2018-19. She is among the first female officials in the NHL. This is a former CHA Defender of the Year and someone who was invited to Hockey Canada's National Development Camp while her time here at Robert Morris. She refereed on the All-Star Weekend in St. Louis earlier this year for the women's 3-on-3 event that showcased players from the United States and Canadian national teams. She has officiated numerous NHL prospect camps, and she did have a little help from another Colonial alumni, Brandon Blandina, who was also a National Hockey League referee. She said in a womenshockeylife.com article that Blandina helped her a lot as a mentor, inspiration, and also someone to just show her the ropes, who actually came and spoke with her, showed her the ropes before her first time. Not bad for someone who racked up 72 penalty minutes in their freshman year, turning the corner and putting on the stripes at number 9.
And we're going to stay on the ice once again for the next one. Now, the all-time points record was set a few years ago by Brittany Howard. Brittany Howard, who had 181 points in her career, and it was broken later. But we'll get on that in a little bit. And we're going to take a look at Brittany Howard, just her career in general. And just here's the first one of this game. By the way, both players set the record against Lindenwood almost 2 years to the date. Look at that absolute blast from the point by Brittany Howard. That number 3 was terrorizing opponents for years on the offense for the Colonials. As you take a look here, what a blast from Howard. And then, of course, you've got another one moving on there. She gets celebrated with her teammates. That's going to be moved on down the ice. Her and Angelica Diffendahl, who is still on the team, by the way, will get in on a 2-on-1 and a beautiful setup and absolutely beautiful goal from Angelica Diffendahl. That is going to get her another point in this game, her second of the game. Diffendahl just buries it. No chance for the Lindenwood goaltender to get to that one. And then, of course, she continued on her torrid stretch in this game, especially because it's an opponent like Lindenwood who struggles immensely out there on offense. But here's the setup to J.C. Gebhardt, who we'll talk about in a little bit. She buries that one. We saw a lot of that last year, certainly from Gebhardt, but there's another one for her. Just an absolutely beautiful setup across the ice. Gets a nice pass in, and boom, there's the goal right there, and the all-time points record for Brittany Howard with 181. But it was broken later, Jack, now wasn't it?
That it was, Tyler. Now, you did allude to J.C. Gebhardt being one of the proponents of breaking this record, being the one who did break this record against the Lindenwood Tigers. They dominated as a dynamic duo for so long, but eventually the torch was passed on to J.C. Gebhardt, and we'll take a look at that record-breaking goal right now.
Clears out. The Lions have not done that at all in this game.
One-time shot there from Le Cavalier. It bounces off the glass and it goes in. J.C. Gebhardt ties the record.
There it is.
Off the wall and in the net. J.C. Gebhardt Now first overall with Brittany Howard, 181 career points right now.
Now, there was a bit of confusion surrounding this sequence of events. Gebhardt had actually recorded an assist on the first goal of the game, so this technically broke the record, and Larry Snyder tells you that now.
The second assist. So JC is now the all-time leading scorer in Colonials history with 182 points. Let's hear it for your all-time new points leader, JC Gebhardt.
Gentlemen, we are just receiving word that the first goal, Emily Curlett, secondary assist goes to JC Gebhardt. She is now the all-time leading scorer for the Robert Morris University Colonials.
And you just heard Owen Krebs wrap it all up there. JC Gebhardt would tack on another goal later in the game, picking off the outlet pass, coming in and putting it right over the blocker for 2 goals and 1 assist in that game, which put her at 183 points. She ended with a career total of 198 points, one of the Colonial greats, and that slots her at number 7.
JC Gebhardt was one of the best, if not the best player in RMU women's hockey history. She headed to Sweden this offseason, and one women's program grabbed a player from neighboring country Finland and many other countries as well. Find out what countries when we go global after the break.
Roll over. Chance high five.
All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? I'm high. Oh.
Stand is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
Roll over.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. Now, when the clock strikes midnight, one women's hockey player will have held the program's all-time points record for 300 days exactly. And women's hockey goes to the Olympics and an almost undefeated team in conference play. Boys, what's cooking?
Well, what's cooking is JC Gebhardt's season last year. We talked about her earlier, and she surpassed that all-time record. But we're going to take a look at both players. We talked about Brittany Howard and JC Gebhardt, 2 of the greats in history. Probably 1 and 2 if you can, or 1A and 1B if you can rank them. But take a look at that. Look at the stats. The stats speak for themselves, and it's just a sheer dominance from these 2 players.
No, and we've talked about the dominance of the women's hockey program over these last couple of seasons, and these are 2 of the main components of that dominant success. Gebhardt only having to play 1 more game to, I'm not good at math, but more points than Brittany Howard. Again, 2 players who acted as this dynamic duo for the Colonials while they were both tenured there. Howard holding the record for more days, but I feel that it's going to take a while to break this record for Gebhardt. I think she's going to stay on top of this mountain.
Yeah, and like Sam said earlier, when the clock strikes midnight tomorrow, it will be 300 days for J.C. Gebhardt holding this record, but now we're going to move on to another women's hockey great.
That we are. Brianne McLaughlin was one of the most dominant Colonial goaltenders since the rise of Reagan Kirk. But something else about McLaughlin most don't know is that she was actually selected to the 2010 Vancouver Olympics women's hockey team. McLaughlin was slotted as a backup behind Jessie Vedder, but still saw her time in international play in the first preliminary game against China. McLaughlin did set an NCAA record while at Robert Morris with 3,809 saves. Again, you see how she had international time in the 12-1 win against China. And after her stints in the international level, which she got another chance at in Sochi, where she earned her second silver medal wearing the United States crest on her jersey. And after her time in international play, she moved on to play for the Buffalo Beauts in the NWHL and was named the Isabel Cup Finals MVP after making 57 saves in a 3-2 win against the Boston Pride. She now serves for a goaltender coach for the United States women's team. So still see how she's grown with the program, great save there in her international time we've spoken about a couple times. And you see her stats, her career stats here at Robert Morris. And this is your number 6 moment in RMU women's sports history.
Now, speaking of international play, more or less international players, one program has actually had a really heavy presence in getting international players, and that is women's basketball. Women's basketball has had some of the best recruiting processes overseas, and we're going to take a look at some of the highlights from that.
There's a lot of different methods that we use. Obviously, being international, the resources that you have are a little bit different. Obviously, analyzing video a lot. We love video. You can rewind, fast forward, you can watch a lot of things, on downtime and stuff like that, things that matter a lot to us. Really getting to know the work ethic and things like that. And, if need be, we'll travel, which we've done very often overseas or, wherever it is in the country we're recruiting somebody, and just continuing to develop the relationships. That's one of the biggest parts of recruiting. It's one of the biggest tools is, having great fits is developed through having a relationship where you understand the passion and the goals and what drives a student athlete, to want to come to a certain program. I think a lot of the problems that you see in Division I basketball is that, programs aren't really trying to find the best fit, as far as on and off the court, their visions towards academics and the culture of your program and what you value. And they're looking just towards the blunt talent. Can the player really play? Are they great? We'll make it work. We'll make it work. For us, really zeroing in on, the kind of student athletes that want to be a part of the culture that we have and value the things that we value.
Well, like Coach Biscaglia said, they have had a heavy presence in getting players from overseas. In fact, 32 in the last 17 years have come from across the pond. And, of course, they have had a heavy presence on this team as well. The top 2 scorers in franchise history are international. Artemis Spano in 2,124 points and Ananiki Stamakupu, with 15 points. And, Jack, it just alludes to how good they have been in recruiting players from overseas.
No, the recruiting pool for the Colonials on the hardwood has been expansive. But keeping it on the hardwood, but not necessarily the same sport, last year's women's volleyball team had one of the most successful conference seasons in program history, going 15-1. They actually went on a 15-0 run up until their last regular season game, to which they fell to LIU 3-1. They also ended that season lackluster-like in the first round of the NEC tournament, losing 3-2. However, don't let that take away from how good of a season this was. This is a team that went 8-0 at home. It was led by a dominant front line of Emma Granger, Maria Alfano, and Alyssa Hudak. Granger registered 224 kills and 83 blocks for the Colonials, while Alfano registered 150 kills and 51 blocks. Hudak had her own stat line of 137 kills and 14 blocks. Just to throw some team averages at you, this is a team that averaged almost 14 kills per game, 2 aces per game, and 16.5 digs per game. So they weren't just an offensive juggernaut, they were a defensive front as well. 10-0 record in 3 set matches, 4-1 record in 4 set matches, and 1-0 in 5 set matches. Clearly one of the best teams that the Colonials have ever seen on the volleyball court. And again, you see in the clips here, you see the offensive prowess, but also the ability to get up in front of those balls, block them, really stifle any kind of offense from the opponents. Like we said, a very dominant team. Sad that the season ended when it did, but this is your number 4 moment in women's sports history.
Volleyball had a dominant regular season last year, and it was the best season they have ever had. Up next, Dawn Larson, Roy Halladay, Nicole Sleeth. What do these 3 pitchers have in common? Find out after the break when we get into our top 3 women's sports moments.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Well, now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Jason, let's go see your room.
That's not right. How was it? Is it good?
Things could be stranger, but I don't know how. I'm going through changes now. Could spend a lifetime trying to figure it out. I'm going through changes, through all of the strangeness. I'm going through changes now.
Welcome back to CSC. Now, the focal point of the next moment recorded one of the most impressive feats in RMU softball history and joined a select few MLB pitchers in the process. Also, it's not the Chicago Bulls or Montreal Canadiens, but we're talking RMU dynasties. Tyler, start us off.
Well, we're going to get right into this next moment. RMU softball, Nicole Sleeth, one of the best pitchers in RMU history, if not the best, and I'm pretty sure she's the best because she leads in many categories. But we're going to take a look at the feat she did fire. She fired one of the best games in RMU softball history. Let's take a look at the highlights from that one. In the 2015 NEC softball tournament, RMU was the 1 seed, Fairleigh Dickinson was the 3 seed, and it was all Nicole Sleeth. She strikes out Alex Portesi swinging her first of 6. Then she gets Courtney Sly looking, and then Alexis Schwartzmiller helping out Sleeth on that one by blasting a home run over the left field fence. And that was just a big part of this game as the game ended 2-0. We'll take a look at the next run in this one as Schwartzmiller rounds the bases here. And of course, the next play is going to be a Jordan Gerganis little dunker into center field for a base hit. She's going to score Olivia LaRusso to make it 2-0, and those will be the only runs that Nicole Sleeth needed in this game as she strikes out Emma DeLuca. She will get Portesi to ground out here. Ground out to second base to fire it to first. There's one down in the 7th, and she's 1 out away from history. That history we'll all talk about a little bit after this. But here is Angelique Nieves stepping up as she gets some congratulations from her teammates for the last out. It's 0-1. She's going to ground it to third. She's going to fire it to first, and it's going to be a perfect game in the playoffs for Nicole Sleeth. Now, Nicole Sleeth joins Dawn Larson and Roy Halladay, like Sam said before, as pitchers to throw no-hitters in the playoffs. Take a look at her stats. I mean, she is the best pitcher in RMU softball history, if not the best player. Her 25 wins in a single season are a record, 78 wins all time, 932 strikeouts, and she almost surpassed 300 strikeouts in a season with 296 in her senior year that year of 2015. She was the best in RMU softball history, the best pitcher.
Moving from the diamond back to the ice is our number 2 moment. which is the stretch of success the women's hockey team had from 2016-17 to 2018-19, winning the regular season in the CHA 3 years in a row. Two very key components, as we talked before, Brittany Howard and J.C. Gebhard leading these teams point-wise, but also something that was pretty incredible to watch over this stretch of dominance is the passing of the torch and kind of the change in whose team it is. It changed from Howard's team to Gebhard's team. A combined conference record of 42-10-8, and you can only imagine that that was an incredibly huge part of this string of success. The conference games being so important as they are, and by far the most competitive games this team sees year-round. But not to take away from their out-of-conference record as well. They also did very well against out-of-conference opponents. Again, speaking to the lore of dominance this team and program has had recently.
Yeah, literally, I don't think any other team has been better than them in these last couple of years. Just the way that they've played and controlled the game. Could be number one, but these two are interchangeable, of course, as you take a look at some of these highlights here that were just very, very big for this team. And like you said, changing of the guard sort of. J.C. Gebhard, Brittany Howard to J.C. Gebhard, excuse me. And this team just putting in consistent efforts year in and year out, and that's exactly what you want from Paul Colantino's program.
No, exactly. And another thing to take note of is how the young players have been able to come in every year, step up, be integral role players of these teams. Everyone knows their job. No one tries to do too much. Paul Colantino has this team in the right direction. It's why he's been the coach all these years. It's kind of like maybe he's behind these seasons and whatnot, but again, a great stretch for this team, a great badge of honor for the school as far as women's hockey goes. And it comes in at number 2. Like we said, it could be number 1, but we do have something else to talk about after this, don't we, Tyler?
Yeah, we do. Another dominant program in history. Just take a look at the waning moments here of women's hockey. But we're going to get right into some women's basketball. Now, they had a stretch of dominance that mirrors a little bit of the women's hockey run. They went to 4 straight championship appearances at NEC in the Northeast Conference, and they had 3 wins in 2016 to 2019. Now, they lost in 2017-18. We're going to take a look there at these seasons and just how good this team was. 2 of these teams, by the way, some of the most underappreciated in terms of fan support on the campus, but they are some of the best on campus. They lost, like we said, they lost in 2017-18 to St. Francis, 66-56. But this team really just takes over the conference every time they play it, and it's going to be interesting to see how they slot right into that Horizon League this year, Jack.
No, it is, and we've talked about the Colonials being the new kids on the block, but also being teams that demand a certain amount of respect. This team is no different from the men's team in their new environment and their new field of opponents. This is a team that's been just as consistently as good as the men's team. I mean, just in recent memory, the NEC championship over St. Francis,
right.
Which was 2 years ago, I believe. It's kind of like these two programs are mirroring each other in terms of success. Teams that have had this standard for success, at least the entire time that we've been students here.
Exactly. And, you know, like you said, they demand respect. Coach Basalia has done a great job on campus. I mean, for this team as well. Like we said, we talked about the recruiting earlier. We talked about all that stuff that has gone into just the process of this team. Just take a look there, winning another championship. But Coach Basalia, once again, has done a great job here for this team. And there is really no end in sight of his just stretch of great teams he's put together.
No, and hey, as long as the prospects keep rolling in at the rate that they are, I don't see an end in sight for it as well. I see only the brightest of futures ahead. Granted, filling those spots where losing the seniors that have been so integral to these teams, but we haven't seen any signs of slowing down, and I don't think we will.
Not at all. It's certainly been just a great stretch of years from this team, and certainly we're going to see a couple more in the future. In the Horizon Leagues, they slot in to be one of the better teams. They're ranked pretty high in the preseason poll.
Well, now that the top 10 moments have passed, it's time for me to turn up this thermostat because it is time for hot takes after the break. Stay tuned here on Colonial Sports Center.
Desert Sea Race. Love is love.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. Now, I'm not Nelly, but it's getting hot in here, and Jack has taken off his tie because it is time for hot takes. So take it away, boys.
Thank you, Sam, for the wonderful intro. Nick, I'm sad to see you're not following suit. I thought we were doing a tie thing here, but it's okay. We've never been great friends to begin with. Luke Yost, start us off.
Wow. All right, with that being said, I feel that the hiring of Coach Charlie Biscaglia and Coach Sal Biscaglia in 2003 should make this list. Nick, what do you got?
What's the point if I lost Jack's friendship? J.C. Gebhard being the all-time point scorer should be higher. I can't even think right now.
You know I love you, baby. My hot take is that it's been a wonderful semester here on Colonial Sports Center. See, I took a lighthearted route.
That's not
I took a little right. I took a lighthearted route.
What's there to debate? You know what? Let's get into it.
What do you mean? I think we've done a great job here. From everyone around here, I think that we've done a great job. I think that we've been able to make as much wonderful content as we normally do, and we didn't have a single live sport to report on.
Yeah. But going back to Nick's thing, I totally agree with your hot take. I don't
know what to feel. I don't know what he's doing over there.
He's giving us cold takes.
I feel like it's in the TV show where you're expecting someone to like get revenge for something you've done, and then they like be overly nice to you. It's very odd. But I mean, women's hockey is arguably the most underrated team in this school's history, and to be the point leader of that program is a monumental accomplishment. And the fact that it's not even in the top 5 is pure blasphemy.
She's not only the point leader in that program, she's the points leader in all of RMU hockey, men's or women's.
That's a very good point. And the fact that Jack touched on it when they were reading it, she played 18 more she has 18 more points and played in only one more game than Brittany Howard. So to beat it by that much in just one more game is an incredible feat.
And I remember when Howard left, the conversation was like, oh, Gebhardt's points are going to drop off because she was almost that secondary player to Howard. And you thought that there's no way J.C. Gebhardt can be a superstar without her. And she turned out to be a phenomenal superstar and has the points record now.
She was what they said they were, a superstar. To kind of paraphrase off Lupe Fiasco's hit song, Superstar.
Wow. Ooh, words. Yos, let's touch on yours again. You think that the hiring of Coach Biscaglia should be higher or on the list?
I think it should be on this list in general. I'm not sure where I'd put it. I'd probably put it at 10 because here's the thing. Is they brought in a new culture from Manhattan College when the Biscaglias were there. They came in here, Sal coached here for 13 years. He left, Charlie Biscaglia took over, and the ship didn't change. They kept it moving. Like nothing ever happened.
The way they recruit, you have Pitt, you have Duquesne right next to you. And the fact that both of them have had this new idea of, what if we didn't go for people here, we went for people overseas? It's incredible, and that should be in that list undoubtedly.
No, it should. Boys, I want to thank you for coming on, having some great discussions. And I want to thank all of you at home for sticking with us and sticking through everything. See you next spring.